Welcome to the Open Waters podcast, where we are venturing into the deep of what God is saying and doing through the body of Christ and through Open Waters worship.
Come join us as we grow in unity, relationships, and true intimacy with Jesus. Let's dive in. Let's go.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another podcast by the Open Waters crew.
Who's the crew, Josiah?
The crew. It's the crew.
It's the crew. Hey, by the way, I'm just letting you know if you're watching my video, yep, we're wearing the same clothes again. It's true.
It's because
No
we've been wearing
shame.
them for a straight week and we stink.
That's right. No, not really. We're doing a batch set of recording, which is where we record a few of them at a time, and it works really, really well.
But now we have family here, so we might not get through the entire episode. So if you hear screaming in the background,
that's because Grandma Judy and Grandpa Dale arrived, and they have a puppy, so it should be exciting. So if you hear that,
about that, oh my goodness.
if you hear that, you know what's happening. So Josiah Campbell, yep, that's him. Josiah Campbell Sanchez. Sorry, Josiah Campbell Sanchez, and then
I'm her son. She still doesn't know how to say my name.
Lisa Campbell. Well, okay, there's a story behind that, and you can tell it more because
What story? I don't know about the story.
yeah, you do. About name changes and stuff like that. So
well, I've got to get my name changed, but I'm waiting till I'm 21. So we'll get into that when I'm 21. 21,
which is happening in December. Woot woot.
Yes, woot woot. Yeah.
So today
You're gonna think I'm gonna be like drinking on my 21st birthday.
Why? Not everybody associates 21 with drinking. Doesn't have to be.
Look at it.
I don't.
This is a Christian podcast, okay? We don't drink.
Actually, there's a lot of differing opinions on that, but we don't get drunk.
Absolutely not. That is a sin.
That's a topic for another day. So, Josiah, later, today our topic is, do you know what it is? This is my
testimony
from death to life.
We don't have the right.
Okay, I won't do that anymore.
So no more, please.
Okay, I won't sing it anymore. So we're talking about our testimonies because we kind of teased this in the past. And I just really felt like it would be good for people to hear our testimony because it's really interesting. I feel like when I encounter people, I bring my whole self to them. And I think kind of assume that a lot of people know my testimony, and maybe you feel the same way, but a lot of people don't know, and it's just really...
Well, you don't go around we should go around and just say our testimony because there's power in the testimony, but a lot of the time we don't just, go around to everybody and everything and just be like, testimony,
right?
Testimony, you know what I'm saying? So it's not one of those things we just do every day.
Yeah. So I feel like it's really important for that reason for people to get to know us. I think it's important, obviously, because we're built up by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, which he is ultimately our testimony, Jesus. He's woven throughout it. It's all because of him. All glory goes to him. He's in our testimony. But people are built up because, and Bill Johnson talks a lot about this, that when you speak a testimony, whether it's healing, freedom, deliverance, or your just salvation experience, whatever you're testifying about, it releases into the atmosphere the same anointing as when the miracle or that breakthrough or the supernatural happened. So it releases it into the atmosphere. So I do believe that today when we release our testimony and just tell our stories, that it is going to release anointing and freedom and healing over people and salvation even over people as they hear our testimony. I also really just think it's good for us to practice sharing it no matter what it is, whether it's an amazing, full of crazy things or if
Wasn't
it's very
prepared
simple.
for this.
Oh, well, you're going to have to think about it because you're going first.
What? Are you serious?
Yes,
I am. You hear her laughing like a goblin right behind me. She's like, you get to go first.
Yeah. I do. I really do want you to go first, Josiah. And this is all we're doing pretty much is just kind of telling our testimony this time. So
I'll make it quick. It'll be
no,
2 sentences
not quick.
Summarized.
That means expound a little bit from when you were a kid, like the details you talked a little bit, but go from young, kind of your life story when you got saved and just some of the healing journey to where you're at now.
Doing things chronologically is hard. Okay. Cause time is a weird concept in eternity.
It's true. There is no time.
Did you know? Just tries to avoid talking about his testimony.
Are you trying to disassociate?
I'm dissociating right now.
Okay.
No. So for my testimony, if you remember I think it was our second podcast that we told you what age we were. No, it was our third, I think.
Yeah.
Where we told you that I was saved, truly saved at the age of 9. Along with my mom and Matthew, which was on, I guess, speaker last week. So
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, we crack ourselves up. Sorry, guys, if this isn't entertaining for you, but go ahead.
If you listen to our last episode, it's about being happy.
Mm-hmm. The one before that was being bold. That's right. We're happy, joyful.
Again, I'm trying to avoid talking about my testimony. But my testimony. All right, I'm getting into it, guys. Promise you right now.
No more stalling.
Get serious.
Gathered thoughts now.
Okay.
Open your mouth. God will fill it with words.
Just kidding. Okay, here we go. No more uhs, no more ums. We're just gonna go for it and say, okay. So again, I was saved at the age of 9 at a mailbox. I'm just going to jump to that point because that's, really the relationship with God when I was younger than that was just kind of, I'm not going to say it wasn't important, but it wasn't, I don't want to say serious. It was just kind of like, oh, I'm believing in the God my parents believe in, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the age of 9 at a mailbox, I was like, all right, there's just something like I need to get saved. And so I just prayed a simple prayer because it's a simple gospel. And it was like, okay. Now right with God.
Yeah.
So what next?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was not much longer after that I actually eventually got baptized. Getting baptized is one of those moments like I'd rather do it privately, like with a small group of people, than in front of a bunch of people because it's like it's a momentous moment for your walk with Christ. I mean, although I think it should be celebrated by the entire body. So there's kind of give and take. But
we actually did a baptism sidebar here at Open Waters.
Yeah.
Matthew just felt led to ask, I'm going to say Bradley, and Bradley actually accepted that invitation. We baptized him in our bathtub. It was such an incredible experience. Cool. We love you, Bradley. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going, Josiah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. But as a young kid, generally you get nervous in front of a lot of people. So, being a young kid in front of a lot of people, I did not say anything about my walk with God at the time I got baptized. And also, I'm not a great public speaker in general anyway, so it's like I might as well.
You're doing pretty good on these podcasts.
This isn't in front of people, though.
Okay.
Like, if there was like a live audience sitting in the background, then it'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But anyway. Didn't say anything at the baptism, just got baptized, and I was like, all right, great. And I think I just want to stop there for a second and say a lot of people think when you get baptized, you're just going to, miraculously feel different. You don't. But in the spirit, it is it's a prophetic act that we're doing.
Yeah.
We're literally coming up and letting our flesh die and coming up as a new person. And so you may not feel different in the physical, but in the spirit, there's something that changes.
Mm-hmm. You're also declaring to all heaven and earth, people everywhere,
And that's why we do it in front of the entire body.
Right.
It's because we are declaring.
That's right.
That he is king.
Yeah, and our testimony.
Yeah. If you say your testimony, then your testimony. But, so after that, it kind of was, I want to say it was just kind of like imagine, I think I said this again on one of the other podcasts, but kind of turned up the heat a little bit. So it wasn't like, I have myself on an 8 out of 10 on the fire, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I've got myself on a 4 or 5, you know what I'm saying? Just so lukewarm. At some point you'll get boiling. Lukewarm.
Okay. There's an inside joke that doesn't have to be an inside joke if you listen to our third podcast, number 3.
Is it number 3?
There's a little insight into that. Yeah. Anyway, Go ahead.
Anyway, sorry. She keeps interrupting me.
I do.
I'm just kidding. She's awesome. But So again, I wasn't like really getting deep with God until I think I don't know what age I was, but it was after. Okay, these are some big events. I have to actually go back. So at the age of 9, it was pretty close to when my father passed away by suicide. And so I think that's one of the things that is like, okay, there's nobody else for me to turn to as a father figure. So God, here you are. And so at the mailbox, I accepted God. And then later on, after I was baptized and everything, my grandma was fighting with cancer, and she eventually lost the battle to cancer and ended up passing away as well.
Yeah.
And I think that was like when I was like 11, I think, but I'm not being 100% sure. So after that, it was kind of like, after those things, you kind of go through a dip in like your faith, but then also who do you turn to? So it was kind of just like a flat moment, like where it's like, okay, I don't know where to go. I don't know where, I'm just going to be here with you. But like, I didn't take the time to, get to know God super well. It wasn't until we went to, I think it was Jesus Culture, which is, I don't know what year. I don't know what year. I'm not going to try to know.
I don't remember either.
We've been to a lot of conferences. So
Jenna, Roxy, or Jenna could remind us. Anyway.
One of them.
Friends with minds who remember all the dates.
Yeah,
yes.
Dates are hard. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
But Jesus Culture was really amazing. Just seeing, I think it was really encouraging to see a lot of people in the same room and body worshiping together, because it's one of those things like, you go like, I haven't been in a mega church and like, thousands of people just
in a while
every week.
Yeah.
In a while.
Oh, I guess before that you hadn't been. Yeah.
No, at this point, no.
Yeah.
So I haven't been like in a church with a lot of people like that. Like maybe 150, 200 people max. So seeing this many people was really encouraging. And so it's like, it's a lot easier to get into the presence and to worship God when there's a lot of people worshiping around you.
Right.
I want to say.
It is. And
so it does help to have those moments and experiences with him, so you can kind of, you get off to a point like it's like a bird getting let out of its nest. It's just like you kind of get to grow your wings at some point. So you're in that place of worship with a bunch of Christians around you, and you just kind of jump into his presence when you're by yourself. And so after that, we came back to Utah. We did like some activations with the prophetic and stuff like that, which I do think have like helped us a lot in our growth towards what we are now, our faith journey till now. And so that was the first time I will say that I think I had a really good experience with God, is at that conference. Yeah. Like tangible presence. Yeah. Where you literally, like, the air is thick because he's just in the room. Yeah. After that, we went to a couple more conferences, a couple at Bethel, which were amazing. Yeah. And it just kept improving.
Young Saints.
Yeah. And I will say that I was a victim to, going to a conference, getting, let's go, then leaving and be like, oh, we're back in Utah. I think a lot of the time is when we realize we're back in Utah, everything comes back. Like, we remind ourselves that we're in a religious state. And so I discourage that. So whenever you come back from a conference,
totally,
don't think of you coming back to a state that is full of religious spirit.
Yeah,
or depression. Just come back and be like, okay, I have something now that is going to change this state, and I'm going to release it into my church, into my community, into my family. So don't think about. It's not that you're trying to avoid thinking about what's around you. But it's living that carefree life that we said. Yeah. Just living without cares and just letting God use what's inside of you now. Yeah. So went to many conferences, Bethel. Yeah. And yeah, it kept going that way. I'm gonna make it real short on this, but I got into a relationship and it wasn't great. Right. This was a few years ago. Yeah. Now at this point, I'm not that old. You're not. But I am old.
You're not that old. Come on, I'm
20 years old.
If you're old, then whew,
I said I'm not that old, but I'm old. Like, because I've lived a little bit of life now at this point.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Okay, yes, you have. I respect you. I honor you. Yes.
I've lived life. I promise. Okay. I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. So you got in this.
So I got into this relationship, and there was just a a sacrifice of morals and a sacrifice of boundaries, which did not lead anywhere good. And
Sure.
I think at the beginning it was based off of good things, but then as things progressed, I think it was just
right.
human nature
And insecurities won
and
out.
insecurity. I will say I was a lot more insecure than I am now. So there was good that came out of it. And I think another pit stop I'll take is when you have hard times and you have things that make you trip while you're running,
Yeah.
just instead of, getting up and, why did I fall? Okay, that's stupid.
Right.
That stupid brick was in the way.
Right.
Realize, okay, I could have looked with my eyes and saw the brick in the road.
Right.
So learn from your mistakes, and rather than just becoming a victim to your circumstances, because it's better to learn than to just allow life to beat you around wherever it wants to go. And so after that, I continued on my faith, and I think I actually really got into the presence after that. I don't know what it is about breaking up with people, but you either two things happen for guys. You either go to the gym or you start getting closer to God. And I'm being 100% serious when I say that. I think it's the minority that actually get into depression when you break up with somebody for a guy, because we realize that we have a lot more to offer this world than to just, sit and sulk in our own tears. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have what it takes to change our circumstances.
Yeah.
And so we do something about it. And us as men, we like to do things. We like to create things, whether that's just creating muscles on our body or creating things with our hands. So we learn how to do something.
Yeah.
And so my relationship with God continued after that. It just was one of those things that, after breaking up with somebody that like you get really close to, and then having that broken off, it's like, okay, I need to learn how to be close to somebody else.
Right.
And so God was that person. He was always there. He never left me. And realizing that was one of the biggest things, is realizing that he never left me.
Yeah.
And so after that, we had we were going to this church, and at some point we had like a breakdown of loyalty issues, they say, and there was just a bunch of things that were said, things that were done that weren't healthy on either side. I think could have been dealt better.
Sure.
So after that, I am now at the church that I left to, which is New Creation. I went to this church called Seago afterward, but I left that church because, just the model of the church wasn't for me. It's not that it's a bad church. It's not that it was anything.
Have a great.
I think
they are. Lots of people are coming to the Lord there. So yeah,
I agree, and I think they have what it takes to be successful in the spirit, and they have what it takes to reach people.
That's right.
And they've got the tools. They just need to use them.
It's one part of the body. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we need to realize that we're not trying to compete for different people.
That's right.
If I decide to go to a different church, it's not because the church is bad or has nothing to offer. It's because I need something different.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But as soon as I went to New Creation, I felt like, okay, this is where I need to be. I felt like it's not that I couldn't grab anything from the other churches, is that I couldn't grab as much as I do at New Creation. They offer what I need, which I'm a worshiper. I am a prophetic minister.
You for sure
and
are.
So for me to have that in a church at New Creation is huge. I need that to grow as a person and to see other people and to be under the leadership of people that are so amazing at it. Like Natalie is so amazing at leading out in prophetic ministry and worship. And so it's been so awesome and honoring to be on the team with everybody.
Yeah.
Just I like to tell people at worship practice that I'm like, I'm so happy to be here. Like I'm so excited to worship with you guys this week.
Yeah.
Because I truly am. Like it's awesome to be able to have the chance to worship with people that just love God and to love to get in the presence, and are people like me that just like to worship prophetically.
Totally.
And so after we went to this church, we went to a couple of years ago, I think it was a year ago, we went to this it was another event.
Fresh start.
Yeah, it was the fresh
Keepers of Revival. Doorkeepers.
DOR. Doorkeepers of Revival. Where we just talked about how to incubate and gestate revival, and then how to maintain revival as well. And like I said last week on our podcast, New Creation is having revival. And so it's time for us to maintain revival, which is not dodging what it's called. It's revival, so call it what it is. And then what are we doing that is made this happen? What did God do that made this happen?
And we're seeing God do amazing things at our open waters worship too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We just got live stream, which is amazing. It's God's.
You did good, Josiah.
It's a blessing because, you know, he let it happen.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, after that we went to that Fresh Start conference and it was really good. So I don't mean to take up the entire time, but
okay.
That Fresh Start conference is amazing. Like you could they openly say that they're in revival, and we believe it because you can look at the people in their parking lot and realize that there's something different about them.
Totally.
It's actually crazy. Like, I haven't gone to many places where the parking people are as happy as the pastor is.
Yeah.
And this place was one of those places.
Yeah.
And honestly, that made like, as soon as you hit those parking people, it's like, okay, you know, this is where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's because it starts from the lowest point and then goes to the highest.
Yeah.
And so once you hit revival like them, you're just not like them, you know what I'm saying? Revival, period. But they just had a great example of what it looks like to live in a revival.
Totally.
And it was just really encouraging to come back to Utah and after experiencing that. And so coming back till now, it's been just an upward battle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God's already won the victory, but, you know, we're still fighting against flesh and blood and things of the spirit. So flesh and blood meaning, you know, our flesh, our human nature.
Yep.
But it's been good. I've been growing with God, and it's, you know, just been a journey on how to worship Him every day. Yeah. And even in my workplace, which is a bunch of web developers, it's hard, you know.
That was one of my questions, actually. We'll get to my testimony in a minute, but
sure.
Josiah, how does your testimony contribute to your desire to deeply worship?
Well, I think it comes from the hurt throughout my life made me have to have a secret place. Yeah. And it's not that I wanted to be hidden. It's that I needed a place to feel safe. And so that was with God. Yeah. And so whenever I felt safe, it was now going to just be through worship. And so now whenever I worship, it's just, that's my secret place. When I worship is what I'm giving to God is everything. And it's where I get closest to God. And so my testimony is just like, it's like, okay, all this bad stuff happened to you, and now I'm going to just get into the presence where I'm at now. And it's come out, and it can come out in different ways. It can come out for some people in reading their Bible and praying 24/7. But for me, it's worshiping through my music, and I think I prophesy through my music too. So that's the way I really do. That's, I think, what my testimony is.
I think for me, my testimony, it causes me to just be overwhelmed with the goodness of God. Yeah. And Isaiah 61 that says, you know, He turns the beauty, He makes the ashes beautiful. He takes the ashes and turns them into beauty. God doesn't cause these things. He does allow things because He's a free will. He will not violate free will, but He makes so many things beautiful. And at the end of the day, you could just see God's goodness and His redemption throughout everything. If you really look at it, if you give it. And, you know, another thing, we love Bethel, but Bill Johnson says, if it's not good, then it's not done yet. And if it hasn't gotten to that point, then it's not done yet. So, so my testimony,
tell us your testimony.
Yeah, my testimony.
I talked long enough, guys.
And I'll be a little bit shorter, but essentially,
you can summarize and then we can do another episode if you would like.
No, that's okay. I'll just do it. I thought about that too, but I'm just going to move forward, and I want to just release this over you. And I just want to bless you with these testimonies. Just release the anointing that God has over it. I just believe that I really do believe that people are going to be healed even through listening to this. But so everybody has a story, by the way. Everybody has a story. We go through so much, and God is so amazing because He will deliver us from it all. He's already overcome the world. But so I grew up in my home. I had a mom and dad. Okay. In my home, I was a latchkey kid. My mom worked. My dad was a wonderful provider, and that took him out of the home quite a bit. My mom also worked, but and she came from kind of a broken family. My dad came from an Italian family. My dad, when I was born, had just come back from Vietnam. And I don't think he realized it at the time, but he was dealing with PTSD. And he also, you know, his dad did the best that he could. My mom's family did the best that they could, and they came with the tools that they had. But no matter if you grow up in a family that is amazing, perfect parents, you are still going to encounter wounds. You're still going to encounter just injuries and challenges and,
We're
you know, in
people.
some cases trauma. And so it happens. And so everybody is in need of some inner healing. And I found myself definitely in that place. Well, accustomed to certain cycles and interactions, I chose to marry your dad, and we had some very good things, but we also had some very hard things that included emotional, spiritual, verbal, and some physical abuse. I dated him for 5 years, was married to him for 16 years, so 21 years of my life. Had 3 beautiful boys. And
beautiful, we're handsome.
I am so grateful for them. I prayed for each one of them. My first child, Benjamin, the Lord had changed my heart towards children, and God gave me him. It was a beautiful, unexpected blessing. And then after that, prayed for Josiah, and then prayed for Caleb, and God just brought them into my life. And all the while I was dealing with very high stress, very controlling environment, just really a challenge environment. And out of that place, I also found myself hurting my children and having them be in an environment that was very hurtful. And so I made the choice finally, after trying countless, my mom made me make a list at one point, 100 different therapists, pastors who had even said, you know, when there had been physical abuse, you should stay with him, you shouldn't leave. Other counselors that said, even if he kills you, you should stay with him because of covenant. And so I ended up having to work through so much. Yes. And I ended up getting to the place where I tried everything. My therapist had told me, you tried every key that you could to unlock everything, because I saw Roy, my husband at the time, I saw the man that he could be. I saw the beautiful things inside of him, and I saw the source of his hurt father wounds. And so I stayed with him for a very long time. And interestingly, people who would say, why did you stay with him why don't you leave him or stay with him? Afterwards, they say, why did you leave him? Do you know all the
there's always going to be
things,
questions,
right? So I did the best that I could. And, you know, I've had to deal with a lot of again, looking back at things, had I known, oh my goodness, I would have done things so different with my children. I would have done things, I would have done things so differently. But I did the best that I could with the tools that I had at the time, and God has been so redemptive.
And now it's up to us.
Yeah. So unfortunately, all of my children were exposed to things. I did things. They were exposed to things that were very hard. Josiah was didn't say a lot of it, but he was a quiet observer, but he experienced a lot of trauma himself. And so I chose to leave. And at the point that I chose to leave, I tried counseling one more time. It was clear that things weren't going to change. And then their father took his life. It was crazy. And then within a year, my mom, the second closest person to me and to my children, was diagnosed with cancer. She did fight a very long, hard battle, and then she died. It was intense trauma in what seemed like a very short span of time. And so I really did go, there's like deconstruction is a buzzword right now. And you hear people on both sides. And I was thinking about this today. Some people are adamant, you cannot deconstruct your faith. Other people are like, you need to deconstruct your faith. Both sides, very strong Christians, very, very intelligent, even theologians. But what I would say is maybe their definition of deconstruction is different, and their heart motives are different on when they deconstruct. Because what happened to me is I went through a major deconstruction of my faith, which means I stood in the shower and was like, God, this person who had walked with God, because when I was a child, I was sprinkled as a Catholic, got saved in a Christian church at 4, or got baptized in a Christian church at 4, but really came to the knowledge of Jesus at 9 years old, baptized in water, baptized in the Holy Spirit. I went through a rebellious period in my teen years, and then really just chose to live for God because I couldn't live, both ways. But you have this person who had experienced all of this, and I lost my train of thought right there. But I
have this person. That's been through a lot.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there having had this incredible history with God. And I'm in the shower one day and I'm like, God, I don't know. I know you're real, but I feel like you don't hear me. You didn't heal my mom. You didn't save my husband. You didn't heal him of the mental issues and the wounded heart, the severely wounded heart. And you didn't protect us. And my kids went through all this abuse. And I was literally broken before you. My head was in the chopping block. How could you let this happen, God? And it was just a time where I just was like, I existed for a second, but God took all the pieces out that were not fruitful and that were not truth. And he built me back up. He reconstructed. And I've been on that journey ever since. And so that happened 11 years ago, I think. And about 11 years ago, right? You're
Been a long
21,
time.
so 9.
I'm 20.
20, you're going to be 21. So it would have been before you're 24. It would be, yeah. So
I
11.
don't mean that snarkingly. I just
going
mean
on. Anyway, it's taken me so long, years of therapy. I turned to, I watched The Shack and I got introduced to a sozo ministry, which is an inner healing deliverance ministry. That's unlike, I was involved in deliverance ministries. It's unlike anything. It's you getting connected with God. You invite him in, he heals you, he frees you, he delivers you, he rescues you, body, mind, and spirit, because we're triune beings. And I was like, God, I really want to minister to people in this area.
Yeah.
I started dating the man that I'm now married to, and it was scary, and I didn't really want to get married, but I knew I couldn't live in sin. I knew that I wanted a husband. And so I chose that, and I was very scared. And it's come fast forward. I have a man that really loves me. He cherishes me. He is an incredible man, imperfect as we all are, but incredible man. He loves my 3 boys. He adopted them, hence the name confusion, but he adopted all 3 of them. All 3 of them wanted to be adopted, and something shifted, and I gained an extra son and an extra daughter. And it's just been...
Don't forget your grandchild.
And I have a grandchild now. And I just the redemption. God redeems everything. I mean, I even just experienced something at a church that was something I experienced in another church that was really hard. And this was seeing it done beautifully. And it was so redemptive. It's like God does not waste a thing. And he redeems everything if you let him. And that's really my testimony. And I cannot thank God enough. My worship comes like the woman at Jesus' feet who just can't, I'm emotional about it, but who realizes all that God has done for her. She pours out her life savings, her life at the feet of Jesus, because she knows what he rescued her from. And she sees how good he is and the future that he's given her. And I'm so grateful. And I still deal with having to be healed of trauma. I look at my kids and I see the effects of my choices. That's the hardest part. But God is healing and he's restoring and he's redeeming even those things. And so, yeah, I just want to say too, if you've experienced pain and you are still in the middle of it, I would say push into it and just look for the hands and the threads of God's redemption, because he is not a respecter of persons and he wants to redeem you. He wants to redeem everything. And that's what he does. He can't help but make things beautiful. That's who he is.
Yeah. I would just add on top of that, once you let go and you let God, that's a really common phrase from people. He can do a lot more with your stuff than you can. And so if you let him take your ashes and make him, he can turn it into something really beautiful. So.
And I just want to say too, a couple of things. And I know we need to end here soon, but really, truly, I look back at the challenges. I remember Abby Stumval just did this amazing teaching. My mom went through the cancer pieces and all, and it was like death everywhere. And I just remember something shifted, and she said, those areas are going to be your areas when you've walked through something, when you've had victory in it, you have authority in those areas. So I walk in authority over abuse, over trauma, over death, over disease, over, dysfunctions of all sorts. I know, and I do God, and God has given me the honor of being able to be a part of something where I get to see people healed and delivered and freed. Like, it's incredible to see that happen. It's miraculous. And so I just want to encourage you that God will take all of that has happened and he will use it for his good. He didn't cause it. He allowed it because of free will, because other people have free will, but he will so make it beautiful. And then he will multiply the healing of others and the deliverance and the freedom through it. And I also just want to say to those of you that say, I don't really have a testimony, mine is stupid. I hear some people say, mine is stupid. Yeah. I don't have a testimony. It's so easy and light. That's a testimony. When God holds you so protected and close, and you see the goodness of God in the land of the living over and over again, and you don't have all the hard things. We do face challenges in life. It will hit you. It rains on the righteous and the unrighteous. But, and I don't mean rain, it's blessings, but it also can refer to hardship because we live in a sinful world. But the reality is that no testimony is too small.
Yeah.
If God heals your back, if God held you and you have been a Christian since you had great parents and you've been a Christian since whenever, inception, and you grew up in that, and then you accepted Jesus and you lived a pure, blessed life. That is such a testimony to people. So don't be ashamed. And then others who feel like my testimony is so terrible. I have a friend who had 3 marriages, and he was like, I only want to talk about 2 marriages. I don't want to mention the third one, the one in between. And I'm like, you have to tell that because that's part of your story. Don't be ashamed of your story, no matter how bad or how good it is, because God will use it in amazing ways.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
No, there's a lot to unpack for you guys, and I'm sorry we can't go in on in depth to each part of our lives, but I mean, maybe at some point we'll dive deeper into some of the different aspects. But I guess we can just pray really quick. I think would be good.
Yeah, let's do that.
God. Yeah, I'll just pray. God, I just want to thank you for everybody's testimony, God, big or small, significant or seemingly insignificant, God. You can use it all, God. God, I just pray that we would learn how to step forth in telling our testimony more often, God, because more often than not, God, we need to be saying it because that's what truly draws people to you is our testimony, God. People like to have something to relate to, no matter how simple or no matter how complex it is, God. Life is complex and life is simple at times, God. So people just need to hear it, God, so that they can relate on some level, God. But God, I just pray that whatever the testimony of our listeners here today, God, I just want to pray that they would feel your love, God, and the power in their testimony, God. And if they're listening to this and they have something that we've gone through that they need healed, they need to be healed from or abused, God, they've been abused, they need to be healed, God. I just pray that would happen in the name of Jesus, God. God, I also pray that neglect and things that people are experiencing, God, maybe even now, God, I just pray that would be supplemented with you, God, that they would feel wanted and needed by you, God, because you want them, God. And God, I just pray that if it's a worthy issue, God, I just pray that people would feel their worth, Jesus. That they would feel that they're worth what you dying on the cross, God. And God, I pray against any self-doubt that they haven't gone through anything, God. And so I might not be worthy of what God did on the cross. You did on the cross, Jesus. But I just pray that people would know that they're worth what you did on the cross, God. You loved us so much, you gave your son, Jesus.
Yeah. I just say yes and amen to all that, Josiah.
Well,
we'd love for you to just leave any comments or prayer requests or anything like that at wherever you're listening to this.
And feel free to leave your testimony,
Yeah.
We'd love to know your guys' stories too, because, it can be a couple sentences. It doesn't have to be as long, obviously, as this.
Yeah.
But we'd love to hear your testimony. We love you guys. And we just want you to know that you're important. Your testimony is important.
It is.
And you guys all have something to offer.
That's right. Yeah. And don't forget to, join us on all of our platforms.
Yeah. By this time, we'll probably have hit over 100 downloads, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's awesome.
So thank you for listening, everybody. And
Yeah.
hitting
And don't forget to join us Open Waters Worship.
Yep.
It's on the second and fourth Saturday of every month at 7 p.m. You can get details at openwaterworship@gmail.com. Also, you can follow links and information, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But we are only having it once, the second Saturdays in November and in December. So, yeah. Anyway, we love you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Talk to you
Bye.
later.